Hey dude, what you making? Mixing hot chocolate and painkillers. Want some? But won't that destroy your liver? No more than the alcohol needed to counter Sea of Monsters. You've just reviewed Dragon Ball Evolution. Do you have a death wish or something? Well, I keep watching these shitty movies, so apparently I do. I'm gonna call the hospital and tell them to expect you. Ask them if I can get a cute nurse. That's hot.
Hello and welcome to The Book is Better, where we're fixing today's movies one book at a time. So, without a doubt, the most requested movie I've ever gotten to review was Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters.
And this isn't an April Fool's joke, I'm actually reviewing it this time. Ever since I posted my review of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, people have been telling me that the sequel was even worse. They've been building it up, claiming that it's one of the worst adaptations of all time. And were they right? Yes! I didn't know what to expect going in, but my god, it's like they took only the central premise of the book, then made everything else up as they went along. Character arcs? What are those? Just make everything about Percy and maybe give his sidekicks a few lines now and then.
He saved Olympus. That's more than you've ever done.
The book was the second in a pentalogy by Rick Riordan and was published in 2006. It picks up the summer after the first book, as Percy and his friends return to Camp Half-Blood, a school for the children of the Greek gods. But the tree that creates an anti-monster barrier around camp has been poisoned. The only way to cure it is to find the missing golden fleece, which has mystical healing powers, and cure the tree before the barrier falls and the camp is overrun. The book did well, earning multiple awards and selling over 1 million copies total. And then the movie came out. I'm not sure who greenlit a sequel after the disaster of the first movie, but it's like they tried to fuck over the plotline of the entire series instead of just the one book. As we go along, you'll notice not just significant character arcs getting tossed aside, but elements being brought in from later books that will no doubt later ruin plotlines and continuity. So, what the fuck were they thinking? Well, let's find out for ourselves as we dive into Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. But before we get started, I want to address something from the Lightning Thief review. People were confused when I pointed out that Poseidon just rose out of the sea, with obvious disregard for what the fishermen on the dock saw. How could he be so careless, I asked. This just makes the gods look arrogant and stupid when they're supposed to be clever and hidden. However, multiple commenters left notes saying, "But Crimson, he's using the mist. You forgot about the mist." Ah, yes, the mist. That ever-present fog that blinded mortals to the world of the Greek gods and their ilk. But I have something for those same commenters. A quest, if you will. Go back through the movie and find me one moment where the mist is brought up. Not once is the mist mentioned, demonstrated, or shown. And because the first movie failed to bring up this vital plot point, the second movie had to create this.
Mist?
It makes the mystical look normal.
There! Can we bury this point now? The movie starts with a recap of who Percy is, and a retcon of something that was supposed to have been established in the first movie.
At first, I didn't believe it either. But the gods of Olympus are real. And sometimes these gods have children with humans, called half-bloods. 7 years ago, 4 of these children were headed to Camp Half-Blood. The only place on Earth that is safe for our kind. Only 3 of them made it.
This is the story of when 4 kids, Annabeth, Luke, Talia, and Grover, who is not a half-blood, he's a satyr, so the opening sentence is a lie, arrived to camp. However, they were being chased by monsters, and brave Talia stood up to fight them.
Keep going, I'll hold them off. No.
It goes as well as you'd expect.
And so, as Talia lay dying, her father, Zeus, found another way for her to live.
Wait, that's it? One yank backwards and she's mortally wounded? Luke got speared off a building in the last movie and he's fine, so what the hell is this? Either way, Talia makes like a tree and forms a magical barrier around camp to protect all her friends, and we get into the meat of things. We cut to the modern day, where Percy is competing with other campers by climbing an admittedly fun-looking tower.
Oh, how nice of
of you show up just to watch me win.
You know, everything they say about you is wrong, Clarice. You actually do have a sense of humor.
And this is Clarice, the camp bully slash jock, who was also supposed to be in the first movie but wasn't because reasons. She's the daughter of Ares, god of war, and is highly competitive because of it. And that's not the only change the sequel has made. Annabeth is finally a blonde, thus satisfying all my fans who complain about her hair color from the first movie. Also, we get to meet Dionysus, played by the talented Stanley Tucci. He's here as punishment for pissing off Zeus during a bender, and now he's not allowed to have alcohol. Ever.
It was one transgression, one, with a naiad for the sake of Olympus. How was I to know that Zeus had a thing for her, or that he could hold a grudge for so long?
If you know that's going to happen every time you pour alcohol, then why do you keep wasting it?
You know, the Christians have a guy who can do this trick in reverse. Now that's a god.
But not all changes are good, as we see Chiron, the mentor figure for Percy and company, played by Pierce Brosnan, who really hasn't aged well. I kid. Chiron is now played by Anthony Stewart Head, who you might remember from Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Giles, the Watcher.
Appears to be paranormal in origin.
How can you tell?
Well, it's so shiny.
Oh, cool! 2 Buffy cameos, 2 reviews in a row. One more and I get a free hot dog. Back to the opening. The point of the obstacle tower is to reach the top and grab a ruby ring. Percy nearly makes it when another kid gets his legs stuck on a rope ladder and is dragged upside down. Despite success being within arm's reach, Percy jumps down from the tower to save him and gets knocked off and loses. This is supposed to make him look selfless and heroic, but he gave up a clear victory to save someone from a mild headache. It's not heroic, that's dumb. And on top of that, we see Clarice grab the ring, which makes the whole tower stop spinning, which would have made saving the trapped kid even easier, and makes Percy look like even more of a dumbass. This guy deserves his pariah status.
You'll need this. Sometimes these events get a little messy.
Percy is feeling down in the dumps, since his glory from saving Olympus in the last movie has faded. He tries talking to his father, Poseidon, but the sea god apparently lost his telepathy and now communicates via fart bubbles. And if that's not enough, Percy now has a long-lost half-brother, who happens to be a Cyclops.
Hi, brother.
This is Tyson, who should not have been able to cross through the barrier protecting the camp because he's a Cyclops and therefore a monster. The movie tries to explain that he's a child of Poseidon and is therefore exempt from this, except the book explains that most Cyclops are children of Poseidon. What's worse, the monsters chasing the kids at the start were both Cyclops, and they couldn't get through the barrier. So is being the spawn of a god really a factor here or not? Consistency! We have none! In the book, he started as a homeless kid that Percy's school took in as a pet project. In the movie, he just shows up because what are important character details when there are action scenes to get to?
Bull.
Excuse me?
Smells like bull.
Breakfast is interrupted by something big pounding on the barrier, and the kids run to check it out.
Hey, Chris, you coming?
No, I'm good.
I know that seems like a meaningless moment, and in most ways it is, but I'm going to be bringing it up later. The barrier weakens and is shattered moments later by a mechanical Colchis bull, which proceeds to rampage throughout the camp. I guess this means that the barrier is down and any monster can come waltzing in, dooming the camp, but the movie just hopes that you ignore that. In the book, they never got through the barrier and were defeated by Percy, Tyson, and Clarice outside. Here? Fuck it! Let's just have a fight scene that raises questions about internal continuity. The bull has a cool design at least, and a nifty flamethrower. I would take him a little more seriously if he didn't come with rototilling accessories. Also, despite this being a camp meant to train demigods in various modes of combat, almost no one steps in to fight this thing. Fortunately, Tyson grabs the bull by the horns and is able to take a flamethrower to the face.
Hey, you! How come you aren't barbecued?
Cyclops are fireproof.
I'm not sure why this means his clothes wouldn't be burned off, but whatever. The bull doesn't last much longer against Percy, who tosses his sword pen inside the beast for massive damage. And then Luke shows up to taunt Percy and eliminate the entire plotline about Chiron's family line, which will no doubt ruin later continuity. Yeah, it happens often enough to justify a counting gag. How about that? Luke did more than just taunt Percy though. He also poisoned Talia's tree, but with what, no one can tell.
poisoned.
Is the tree dead?
No, but dying.
A condition we're about to become all too familiar with.
Luke also told Percy about a prophecy, something that Percy was unaware of.
We'll add that to the long list of things your buddy Chiron hasn't shared with you.
To get answers, Percy visits a mummified corpse that Chiron keeps in the attic, known as the Oracle of Delphi.
I heard there was a prophecy about me.
Aye. But before you learn the future, know first the past.
So the Oracle gives some flagrant exposition, with some decent animation, which manages to fuck up basic Greek myth.
Led by Kronos, a force so evil he devoured his own children. The three of his sons escaped: Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon.
Now, I'm all for giving creative liberties to stories like this if they're written well. Except Riordan is very knowledgeable of Greek myth and wouldn't write something so blatantly false. It's well known that Zeus is the only one who escaped Kronos' grasp. Changing something like this might seem minor, but it shows a fundamental lack of regard for both the source material and the Greek myth it's based on. It's like spitting in the face of the author you bought the movie rights from. Anyway, the prophecy says that Kronos is fated to rise again, and a child of Zeus, Poseidon, or Hades will either stop him or join him. A little vague, but I suppose most prophecies are.
What if I destroy Olympus by not being good enough to save it?
That seems to be the question, doesn't it?
Oh, come on, Giles. If you can train Buffy to stop the Master, I'm sure you can manage this. Meanwhile, Annabeth is using an iPad, really, to research a cure for Talia's tree, when she finds something.
The golden fleece can heal any living person or thing, including Talia's tree. We heal the tree, we restore the barrier around camp.
The last I heard, the golden fleece was in the Sea of Monsters, what the humans called the Bermuda Triangle. So, the answer is no. No. It's a terrible idea.
I've had a grand idea.
Dionysus eventually goes along with this idea, assigning the quest to search for the fleece to Clarice, much to Percy's disappointment.
Look, I get what you're doing here. You're worried about the one quest wanted thing and you want to make your bones.
So Percy's involvement from the story has gone from doing the right thing and protecting the camp at the risk of being expelled, to being a glory hog. The movie doesn't even try to hide this fact. The first movie also got the theme of the book wrong, but at least it didn't try to make Percy look like a self-absorbed prick. So Percy and the gang leave camp surreptitiously, until Tyson decides to tag along, bringing with him his entire collection of tin cans and loose bolts.
Sorry. We're guarding too.
However, having Tyson come along would draw unwanted attention, since he has the one eye. Fortunately, Annabeth has it covered with new Mist in a Can!
This is crazy hard to come by, and I only brought it along in case of emergency, which I guess this is an emergency, so here.
Mist?
It makes the mystical look normal.
So, this confuses me. In the book, the mist, yes, I'm talking about it finally, shut up, was this ever-present veil that protected the world of the Greek gods and monsters. As soon as a regular person sees them, the mist obscures their vision and makes them think they're seeing something normal. Hell, it's so strong that Percy wasn't able to tell that Tyson was a Cyclops at first when they met at school. And yes, that's another mistake I'll get to later. And that's not all, because the kids later wind up in a coffee shop in Washington, D.C., where we meet this guy.
Ekatantri.
Hey.
Whoa. I see you got your hands full.
Whipped cream?
Now we're getting into the real meat of the problem. Either the mist is this ever-present thing protecting the Greeks, or this guy can somehow afford to constantly apply the mist in a can spray on his salary, which contradicts Annabeth's earlier line.
This is crazy hard to come by.
This whole mess can only be explained through that rare spectacle known as the double fuck-up. With the dreaded double fuck-up, the movie makes a mistake so severe that their attempt to correct it only raises more questions. Good job, movie! You fucked up so hard that you've somehow created a plot hole inside of a plot hole! How do you even do that?! The kids leave the coffee shop, headed for the Bermuda Triangle where they believe the Golden Fleece is hidden, when Grover gets kidnapped by Luke's goons.
Damn!
Was that Chris Rodriguez?
How did they do that?
This was done to match up with the book, in which Grover didn't really show up until like 90% of the way through the story, outside of Percy's dreams, but that's not what I want to talk about here. Instead, do you remember this kid?
Hey, Chris, you coming? No, I'm good.
So, one of my fans on Twitter said that this kid appears later in the series, so I'm not sure why he was brought in for this movie, especially since he can be replaced with a faceless minion and the end result is exactly the same. If I hadn't been informed of his relevance in later books, I would have assumed he was just some random kid who won a stupid contest to appear in the movie. And I don't know this for sure, but this could very well ruin later continuity. So, the gang needs to find Grover, and the one place they think to look is with the Olympic Postal Service and Hermes, played by a real god among men, Nathan Fillion.
Wait, you're...
Hermes. Little insulted you didn't recognize me.
Who played the evil pastor in season 7 of Buffy? Ha! Free hot dog for me! Fillion just kills it here, playing Hermes as this confident badass who not only helps them find Luke and gives them some nifty toys like he's this world's version of Q, but he gets some great lines along the way.
Collector's item, mint condition, from Hercules Bust Head, season 1.
Hercules Bust Heads?
Best TV show ever, so of course, canceled.
It always comes back to Firefly, doesn't it, Nathan?
I aim to misbehave.
That's lunch!
But Fillion leaves us, never to return, and our heroes run out to a dock where they see Luke's yacht. Fortunately, since they're on water, Poseidon is able to help.
It's a hippocampus.
Damn it! I know the hippocampus is part of the brain, but I can't remember what it does, and that pisses me off. This has been Crimson's Stupid Jokes for Smart People. This big seahorse is their ride out to the boat, and no, its name isn't Rainbow as Tyson affectionately dubbed his horse in the book. They hop on board the yacht, and moments later wind up captured.
Chris? Hey.
They're given to Luke, who then starts to boast about his evil plan.
I got something only the fleece can revive. And it's not a tree. Want to see it?
There are so many ways to describe Luke from the book. Cunning, angry, misguided, clever. But in the movie, he's just...
Want to see it?
This is moronic. He has no reason to show this off and only risks failure by doing this like some second-rate Bond villain too proud to understand hubris, something that everyone in this world should be familiar with. But Crimson, he showed them the golden sarcophagus in the book. Yes, he did, but in that, he had reason to. That was part of a larger goal meant to trick Percy, so that even if Percy won the battle for the fleece, he would still lose the war. It's part of the clever style seen in Greek myth and literature that Riordan understands, but Hollywood clearly doesn't. Luke isn't going along with some grand scheme here, he's explaining exposition for the audience. After escaping from a brig that Tyson should have been able to rip open, remember, Cyclopses are super strong, we get an escape scene that I'd almost call enjoyable. Percy gets out using a plot device that could only exist for this exact moment and wasn't in the book.
I hold in my hands a matter eliminator trademark pending. Anything you outline with this will disappear.
Then surfs on a wave he created while Annabeth and Tyson escape by boat. Even the music picks up and makes the escape a lot more fun. However, there's a notable flaw in this scene, and that's in how easily Percy uses his powers. Sure, it looks cool, but there's no sense of growth. Just because he's the son of Poseidon doesn't mean he should be able to summon a wave taller than the yacht itself.
Not this again.
That's why in the book he can't just bypass any issue with water. He has to develop his abilities and struggle a little for us to care about him as a character. For example, in the next scene, they lose their wind thermos and can't go on without it. For a guy who just summoned a storm and several large waves, I'm surprised you can't do something as easily as propelling a lifeboat forward. Come on, guys, it's not that hard to see these problems as you're writing them. Do better! Percy and Annabeth chat for a bit, and Annabeth says she doesn't like Cyclops because the monsters who nearly killed Talia were Cyclops themselves. But Cyclops aren't able to get through the barrier because they're monsters, but Tyson got through the barrier just fine even though he wasn't invited in like he was in the book, and if that's all it takes to get through the barrier, then why didn't Luke just invite the bull inside in the beginning?
So now I've gone cross-eyed.
So the gang travels by lifeboat for a short while when they run into Charybdis, basically a giant whirlpool monster, and Percy can't control the water here for some reason.
It's not working!
The Sea of Monsters might not be in Poseidon's domain.
See, you've made him too powerful, and I have to backpedal and pull excuses out of your ass for why he can't kill this thing. They all get eaten, but it's not all bad since they run into Clarice, who has her own Civil War boat with a zombie crew thanks to Ares.
Wait, your crew is zombies?
Well, they prefer dead Confederate sailors whose lives have been given in tribute to Ares.
But zombies is fine.
I'll ignore for now that no one was ever swallowed by Charybdis in the book, and Clarice's ship was actually blown up around this point. We get another escape scene not 10 minutes after the last one as Percy blasts open Charybdis' stomach with a cannon while Clarice pilots the ship out and to the surface. I'm not a nautical expert, but I'm pretty sure this ship doesn't have any ballast tanks and therefore couldn't float to the surface, meaning the movie really just sent them from one grave to another. So really they should be doomed, but whatever, let's move on. The ship plots a course southwest to where they believe the Golden Fleece is being held, and they come across Cersei Land. Why? There are a number of things the movie can legitimately cut from the book, but this is something else. Percy and Annabeth came across Cersei the Sorceress in her spa, which was on a different island entirely. I don't know why the movie felt the need to include this for some reason when you can replace it with an overgrown rock in the middle of the sea and it'll have the exact same impact. They don't even do anything with the amusement park idea outside of a lame roller coaster segment.
It's a small world after all.
No! Anything but that.
It's like how they included Chris from earlier when they really didn't need to. And actually, this made things worse because now we don't get to see the piranha sheep. Yeah, the book has piranha sheep. Check it out. The gang now ventures deep into the park until they find a chamber within a cave holding Polyphemus the Cyclops, voiced by Ron Perlman, awesome, and Grover in a dress.
This hunger is making my eyesight worse. I could just eat you. If you weren't a Cyclops.
Polyphemus has been using the Golden Fleece to lure satyrs in for food, since they're naturally drawn to it, but when Percy and the others come for it, Grover drops the act and everyone fights the giant.
Hey, yo, Clancy's!
Huh?
I quit!
Wait, you're a dude? Well, that explains a lot.
And can I just say that the fleece is nothing like it was described in the book? It's supposed to be 60 or 70 pounds of gold, but instead we see the kids tossing it around like a frisbee. They get the fleece away from Polyphemus and block him inside of a cave with a boulder, but they get cut off themselves as Luke and his minions surround them and demand the cloak. Percy naturally refuses.
Suit yourself.
You do it for me.
No!
Huh. Well, that was tragic. Okay, killing you now. Okay, so something that the movie introduces but doesn't really give time to develop is Percy's feelings towards Tyson as a brother. The movie tries to force some emotion out after Tyson's apparent death, but it comes up short since there was scant material to build off of.
I never called him brother. All I ever wanted was a brother, but I was too wrapped up in myself.
And out of the myriad of things the movie screwed up, what it did to Tyson was, in my opinion, the worst. He might seem innocuous to you if you've never read the book, but Tyson was almost nothing like this originally. He's actually a little kid as far as Cyclops go, and adding that with his natural proclivities means that he came across as a little slow. He and Percy met in school, where Percy was a protective friend, doing what he could to help Tyson out against the constant bullying he faced. Those same bullies would often call Tyson retarded, among other things, and although technically not true, it did color the reader's perception of the Cyclops all the same. Tyson was often afraid, overly relying on Percy in social situations to get by, and he wasn't terribly quick. But he was very kind-hearted and rushed in to help when Percy was in trouble, like when the Colchis Bulls attacked the camp. He loved Percy as a brother and just wanted to do the right thing. He even has his own strengths, such as being a naturally gifted smithy, like when he built the chariot that the movie never included, or the special shield for Percy, which will likely come into play later in the series. He offers a new perspective on mentally disabled characters and comes across as a strong, fun character that I found myself cheering on. Instead, what we got is a background character who doesn't challenge perception, doesn't offer much, and doesn't have the same charm as the original character, and was written just to sell a movie to a younger audience who might not be comfortable seeing someone like this on screen. I hate it when characters are changed from what they normally are to something new, just because it's easier or because you're trying to mold some new agenda. Learn to recognize when you have a good thing, assholes! So even though he was just about to kill him, Luke captures Percy instead, along with everyone else. They're tied to posts so that Luke and his posse can recreate the Ark of the Covenant scene from Indiana Jones. They of course forgot to take Percy's magic sword pen away from him, so he's able to cut everyone free and then charge the stage to remove the fleece before it's too late. A brief fight shows that Luke is still the better fighter, but before he can give the final strike, Tyson comes back from the dead to save Percy.
What? The water. It healed me. Son of Poseidon. Thank you, brother.
But the two of them hug it out just a little too long, and the fleece finishes healing Kronos, who spends the rest of the movie floating in multiple pieces. So is he supposed to be like that, or is he just not finished healing? Whatever, that's only the start of the problems as the movie destroys the plot of the entire series over the next 5 minutes. Did you think Aragon did a great job destroying its own continuity? Well, that was nothing! Watch this! So immediately upon getting revived, Kronos eats Luke, certainly ruining later continuity. Luke is later released, but there's no way he's gonna try to revive Kronos again, so bye-bye final confrontation of the series. Besides, he's probably gonna get eaten again anyway. And at one point, Grover and Clarice team up to kill this werewolf-scorpion hybrid, which I'm guessing is supposed to be the Manticore from the next book. Well, that's not happening now! And for a villain that's supposed to be the mastermind of this whole 5-book series, this ancient evil that, according to the movie, took 3 fully powered gods to defeat, Kronos goes down like a bitch. Percy manages to kill Kronos in less than a minute and a half, starting from the moment he engaged him. He defeated the ultimate bad guy of the entire series in less time than it takes to microwave a bag of popcorn. Why isn't anyone afraid of Kronos when a teenager with a hero complex can kill him? Oh, and then we get some melodramatic death scene when Annabeth gets stabbed by the werewolf scorpion before he dies, as if the audience is supposed to have forgotten that they have a magic cloak that can heal anything. Give me a goddamn break! I would say that the director knew there was no way they were going to get a third movie, so he just went all out. Except that pesky prophecy from before comes back. You know, the one about a child of one of the big 3 bringing doom or salvation to Olympus. Well, after the gang uses the fleece to heal Talia's tree, it actually heals her too much and revives her from her semi-dead state.
What's your name?
I'm Talia, daughter of Zeus.
Another living child of the eldest gods. Maybe it wasn't me. Maybe the Oracle meant Talia all along. Could she be our salvation? Or the cause of our destruction?
Sequel baiting? After you ruined the series' continuity beyond repair? Why bother at this point? There's no coming back from this! Hopefully I've made it clear that this is a garbage adaptation, but as a movie, it's not as bad. Hell, I'd even say it does a few things right. I like the music and special effects, and what props and set pieces they tried for actually looked pretty good. But those little touches aren't enough to save the movie when the biggest failings are in the characters and the story. Percy does pretty much everything, with all the side characters existing just to further his goals instead of having their own. Plus, despite the sequel baiting, they wrote themselves into a corner, and now there's no way to continue the series. Good job, guys! It'd be tough to screw up harder than this! The movie gets a 2 out of 5. I really like the Percy Jackson series and will be finishing the rest of the books soon. I'll normally recommend these books to people the same way I recommend the Harry Potter and Alcatraz Cemetery series. Sea of Monsters is clever, uses Greek myth well, and just like the first book, it was a lot of fun seeing where the old Greek gods and monsters wound up in the new world. Riordan has a simpler style of writing, but considering his younger audience, that's understandable. If your kids are looking for books to try out, these, and Riordan's other books, would keep them satisfied for a good while. The book gets a 4 out of 5. And now for the moment we've been looking forward to, why this movie sucks as an adaptation. The characters have all been watered down to some 2D version of their former selves. Grover's entire character arc about finding Pan has been cut, so he only exists as a comedy relief. Annabeth has been reduced to the pretty one, and doesn't have her hesitation for fighting Luke, and doesn't stand out as the smart one, like she does in the books.
Goddess of Wisdom's daughter, remember?
Tyson was completely rewritten, and Percy is the only person in this movie who I can't outright call a caricature. I don't know if this is the worst adaptation I've ever seen, but it's easily in the top 3, alongside Dragon Ball Evolution and Endless Love. Yes, I consider this a worse adaptation than Eragon. It gets a 1 out of 5. And that was Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters, the abomination that really was as bad as people told me about. How the hell did they screw that up so badly? The only way this could be worse would be if... God damn it, what now? What?
Hello. I hope you don't mind me letting myself in.
Who the hell are you?
Name's Strife. You must be Crimson. Somebody's paying a lot of money for your head. And I'm gonna take that now. No. Stop. Come back. I knew you'd show me where that sword was.
Who sent you?
Relax, Hero Complex. I'm not here to kill you. Frankly, I'm not even here to fight you. I lied so that you would lead me to that sword. I want it.
That's not gonna happen.
You seem like a well-read man. Tell me, do you like Hamlet?
It's my favorite of Shakespeare's plays.
Well, then you're gonna appreciate this. My rapier's name is Laertes.
Laertes? Why? Because...
I've been told you're a sword mage. So am I, as a matter of fact. Laertes is a poisoned sword. Don't worry. You're not gonna die. I'm under strict orders to keep you alive. I would have loved to have had a long, drawn-out battle with you, but frankly, this is more fun. I'm gonna be stealing this now.
Why are you doing this?
Oh, now this is a beauty. No wonder he doesn't want you to have this. I could cause a lot of damage with this sword. Do you know how to read swords yet? Of course you don't. Well, have fun with the poison. It looks like it hurts.